There are two kinds of people in this world, people who like canned tuna and people who are absolutely sure they don't. And usually they decided that a long time ago. This is one of those meals that changes that, because tuna doesn't become something you love by accident. It becomes something you love when someone takes time to build it in the right way.
Hey Dad, what are you making?
A delicious tuna melt with a couple of surprise ingredients. Now, let's get into it. First, I want to put on my apron that my family made me for my birthday. Don't you see that what the fork there on the chest? I absolutely love it. Thanks, guys. Alright, it all starts with getting the ingredients in the bowl. This takes 2 cans of tuna packed in water. You want to use the good stuff. This recipe calls for about a 1/3 cup of celery and then also about a 1/2 cup of red onion. So first thing we want to do is dice it up fairly fine. So I'm going to chop off the edges here and then go ahead and finely dice this down. Once it's diced, go ahead and scrape that up and put that into your bowl. Then we'll work on the red onion. Like the celery, we want this to be a fine dice. They should be roughly about the same size. Get that into the bowl as well. Now, we've got our 2 cans of tuna. I've drained these really well and I can get these into the bowl as well. Alright, now about a 1/3 cup of mayo. Get that in there. And then we're going to work on our bread and butter pickles, minced fine. You want about a 1/4 cup of these. Now, let's flavor it up some more. We want about a tablespoon of yellow mustard, and then a teaspoon of garlic powder and a teaspoon of onion powder. Then about a teaspoon of smoked paprika as well. Then drizzle in some really good olive oil. We're going to have a 1/4 cup here. This is where it stops being tuna salad and becomes more of a dressing. This is optional, but I'm adding a little bit of our hot sauce. You can also use Tabasco sauce or your other favorite hot sauce as well. A few good grinds of some fresh cracked pepper, some salt, and then just a little bit of vinegar as well. Alright, then we give it a stir. We want to make sure to mix this up really nicely. You want to make sure to break down everything just a little bit, but it shouldn't be too moist either. You don't want this to look like that slop that you see at the deli counter. So let's give it a taste, make sure it's got all the seasoning that we need. I think we might need a little bit more salt. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. You let it rest. Cover it, put it in the fridge. Give it at least an hour or up to 24 hours, because some things get better when you don't rush them. When you're ready, heat a griddle or a big skillet over medium. Then take your bread, put it down. We're going to lightly toast both sides before we put a little bit of mayo on each one. I'm using some chef's press here to make sure that we weight it down to get a good contact on there. My Blackstone gets pretty hot, so we want to make sure that we flip these a little bit just to make sure we're seeing the browning but not too much. Once they're toasted lightly, now we can go ahead and add a little bit of mayo. You just want to spread that across the one side that we're going to toast and put it on the bottom. So get it on there lightly and then put it down again, and we can put the presses back on. And here comes our first special ingredient from AO, some hot giardiniera. This stuff is really great and adds an extra zing that you just don't expect. Then put down about a slice and a half of American cheese on here. I'm using natural American cheese, but we want to make sure we spread that evenly across as well and get it all good and melty. Now, once the bread is golden and the cheese is all melty, that should take about 4 minutes. No rushing. Let's get those off the heat, and then let's bring them back inside. Now, let's start building. Bring in the cold tuna, about half a cup per sandwich, spread it from edge to edge. And then, the thing that nobody expects, a handful of salt and vinegar chips, crushed right into the middle. Alright, go ahead and top it, and then cut it in half, because somehow it always tastes better that way. Now this is how food switches sides. That's how something from a can turns into something they look for. Because one day they won't remember the ingredients. They'll remember standing right here waiting for this. There are two kinds of people in this world, and this is how you change camps. Dad, what are you making? What they'll want forever. If you believe food makes memories, tap like and subscribe. And drop a comment with a recipe you grew up with or one your kids can't stop asking for. I'd love to make it.